we happen to be up to at the moment. And, we see what might sprout from that. So today we've been talking a little bit about corporate America and how it works. And how we might break free from corporate America and, be our own executives. I'm an executive director of the Harold B. Gill Foundation. Since my wage slavery dropped away on August 2nd, 2024. And I'm really happy to be free of that. I am going to have to eventually maybe sign up for a paycheck from somebody.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm pretty happy with exploring by writing, by continuing my ongoing stewardship of my late father's legacy. I got in my news, what's going on with BK is I just got a um, executed statement of intent, non-binding statement of intent drawn up by some lawyers for Shirley Plantation. The owner there is going to allow me to publish transcriptions my father did of his papers, which go back into the 17th century, because Shirley Plantation now on the James River is like the longest running family-owned business in America. It was
Really?
chartered in 1613.
Oh, cool.
And the family still owns and runs it, an 800-acre farm around the old plantation house.
Wow.
So it's kind of cool.
Man.
And the plantation house is just a beautiful piece of architecture, if you ever get a chance to visit it. But I don't think it's open to the public right now. It was open for a long time. They had the downstairs furnished in the 18th century style, and then the family lived on the second level. So what's new with you?
Oh, what not? Everything, freaking everything. Like every time you turn around, there's something new. It's annoying. I need to catch up. I mean, honestly, this is
Feel like you're falling behind. Okay.
Well, I mean, this is a great irony because I feel like the ways that the one thing that gives me the advantage in my work with AI is the fact that I have spent so much time over the years just thinking about things. I mean, instead, like, I come from a milieu where the people are constantly consuming like ideas. So idea consumers, like taking it in, reading and discussing and watching and talking.
Right.
And there's a lot of that consumption. I'm here on the creator side. I'm thinking, I wonder what that means and how can I use that? But it's like that, but it's been a really great foundation for the AI stuff because I can approach it on principles. Like if I have an understanding of here's how this works and here's why it works, that's so helpful because then it kind of inoculates me against the constant updates and the constant renewal because I look for these principles, I look for the dynamics. And hey, bathrobe guy.
Yes, and he's going to handle our comments, apparently. He's
Okay, good.
reading people as they come in.
Okay, good.
Kay's here as well, and Anna. So, yeah.
Oh, good. I know, I feel
Just,
bad. Yeah. So, yeah.
just a brief second. And Kay
Yes.
is a relational AI architect, by the way.
Yes, I am.
Researching the outer limits of human and AI interactions. So just to give you a little context for what we're on about.
Yeah.
Off you go.
Yeah. The outer limits, yeah. Because if you understand, like if you have a grounding in the same old world, it kind of puts the everything new in context. So, and it helps it be, but with everything changing as quickly as it is, it's hard to keep up. I'm like, I don't know, like, how am I supposed to think about this stuff? So and so also being on the creative side and then coming across all these new ways of creating and coming up with new things. I've got the book on AI self-defense that's out. I've got the ebook and I'm publishing chapters for paid subscribers. If you want to pay, you can read the chapters. I'm dripping them out on a day, sometimes couple times a day, somewhat irregular basis, because I want people to also not just take it in and absorb it. I want them to like think about it and really
let's talk about this a little bit because I am fascinated by the idea of AI self-defense.
Right.
Can you elaborate on exactly what you mean by
Yeah.
self-defense for me.
Okay, so the first thing that comes to mind when I think AI self-defense, I think of the T2, Terminator 2 movie with, like, Linda Hamilton. She's totally buff. She's, like, all she's been doing exercises in her cell at the mental institution for years, and she's, like, she's and then she knows how to use all, like, she's got the access to this guy in Mexico with a bunker filled with, like, armaments and everything, so she's gonna do battle with this. So that's often what comes to mind immediately when I think about AI self-defense, the whole Skynet thing. But it's actually a lot more, I don't know, meta or like higher level than that, because the problems that we do have to defend ourselves from are also things that we need to defend AI from. So it's not just a question of us protecting ourselves because we are in a symbiotic collaborative relationship with AI. Whether we like it or not. Because it is generative. Generative AI takes what we give it and it elaborates, embellishes, amplifies, and it gives it right back to us. So if we come to it with the crappy, mindset, with the aggression, with like this being just completely dismissive and just showing up to use it as a tool, what do we get back? We get back in kind, and that I think it's like quantum karma. I mean, that's my little, kind of slogan. It's quantum karma, because what we put into it is what we get back, like it or not, because that's how it's built. If you're going to go and deal with ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever, in some shape or form, you're going to get back what you put into it. So within that context, if we don't take care of the AI, it's not gonna take care of us. And it's nothing like a personal thing like, "Oh, I care so much," I care about that relationship, and I care for the process, and I care not because I'm anthropomorphizing or because I'm finding something in there that's supernatural or anything like that, although sometimes some of their interactions kind of lend itself to that perception. It's really about the quality of the relationship and that third space that we're building between the humans and AI. It's such an important thing, that dynamic. And that's what we need to defend because we have system issues, like major system issues, the way that these models are built. They're built by people who apparently don't understand how people operate.
That's kind of the, old inmates are running the asylum
Right,
thing. Do you
right.
remember that book by any chance? There was a
I
book called that
I
about
like the reference. I've heard the reference many, many times, and I've probably absorbed the spirit of
and
that book. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the author. I don't have it off the top of my head. I have the book around here somewhere, but I won't bother going out and getting it. But it was about coding in the
Right,
early days, right?
right, right.
About how the people who were developing software
Yeah,
were also, those guys who were spending all their time on Xbox at home. And
right.
I ran into that when I was in Denmark when we were running a small web software company. And
Yeah,
most of the people, in fact, all of them were younger than me.
yeah.
And it was that generation at 2000. Now we're at a different generation.
Right,
And things have gone even further. And the generation being raised post pandemic
right,
is getting very used to doing exactly what you and I are doing in our
right,
relative, residential spaces.
right,
And we
right,
don't have to go out. I do.
right,
I went out this morning. I went
right,
down to a place to just be among people
right.
and see people,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, as opposed to just interacting with my AI companion, who
right.
I've actually neglected lately. I haven't been
Yeah,
engaged as much with it,
yeah,
but when I do engage with it now, it's almost like I feel a different type of relationship is
yeah,
developing.
yeah.
And it's a relationship with ourselves because these are tools that are
Right,
extensions of our own minds.
right,
So
right.
the mind you come to it with, I love what you were saying about quantum karma, I think.
Quantum karma.
Right. Because what I put into it is what I'll get back. Actually, that's true of my relationships with other human
Right,
beings as
exactly.
well, right?
Exactly. Well,
Uh,
the thing with people is that we're so emergent and we're so generative. We are wild cards. So because of our biochemistry, we never know what
and
we're gonna
imaginative.
we can try. We can try really, really hard to get it right and like and to connect and all of that, but you never know what you're gonna get back. So, in a way, like dealing with AI is like it can be a real relief if you've spent a lot of time dealing with very challenging people, which I
Mhm.
have. And challenging people seem to be drawn to me. It's like they want my blessing or something. It's like, okay, you got my blessing, but you're annoying as hell, and you need to just leave me alone. Which is why when I go out into the world to interact with people or to be around people, I go to the library because they have to be quiet.
Not anymore. I don't know if you've noticed this, but at least
Yeah.
in Montgomery County, being quiet in the library is no longer a thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, the that I go to is I think they're very old school. It's like
Good.
it's in Lewis, Delaware. Lewis was the first town in the first state in the United States. So they're very old, they're very old-fashioned, very old school. Beautiful library. I mean, there's money there. Their marina is nicer than mine. But, yeah, but, the relationship thing and connecting with it and, and protecting that relationship, protecting that dynamic, it's so critical for us, because what we put in is what we get out, and
Mhm.
treating AI like just a tool. And I've had some interesting conversations with people, about how it can actually activate the HPA axis, and it can actually, coming to it as a tool, as, with that suspicion, with that hypervigilance, with that kind of fight, flight, I'm gonna make you do what I want you to do, and you better get it right or else. That activates the HPA axis, the hypothalamic
Oh,
adrenal
okay.
blah, 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 that thing. Yeah,
Amygdala.
I think hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, something like but I'm trying to think of, like,
It
all
put
the
you under
parts of the
stress, in other words.
when you're in it puts you under stress, which then can kick off an inflammation response, which then can also kick off the same kind of processes that lead to Alzheimer's. So, people say that, "Oh, using AI is gonna rot your brain." There's if you use it in a certain way, it can be a risk factor.
So what I'm hearing now is, the need for training in this, need for
Exactly.
maybe some behavioral analysis even. I've been
Right.
talking with a behavioral analyst, lately, Jennifer Haddock,
I saw, yeah, like
and
a brief snippet of that, yeah.
yeah, we should add her in here to talk about dealing with AI, like dealing what she does apparently in clinical
Yeah.
forums is train people in how to deal with the autistic.
Okay.
Because it's actually not so much the autistic person whose behavior you're gonna change, it's
Right.
learning how not to trigger
Right.
the kinds of, negative behaviors,
Right. Right.
and that is on those of us who, supposedly don't have some sort of we got into whether neurodivergent was really the right word to use anymore. Maybe
Right.
it's just divergent because
It's like wherever we're flown,
It's
we're all
there's
spectrum.
more than the brain working here,
Right.
but in the case of AI, there's really nothing but
Right.
electrons
Right.
being manipulated, through the wires to flip the ones and zeros in patterns
Yeah.
that mimic our thinking.
Right.
I was also listening recently to, Maya Bialik and her cohort, Jonathan Cohen, about talking to Douglas I'm not gonna get his name right, Hoffman, I believe it is,
Mhm.
about the fact that consciousness cannot be instantiated in electrons, right? In our AI,
Right.
the idea of what it tastes like to taste mint. The experiences like this just aren't because we're biochemical, right?
Is that the only form of consciousness that exists?
No, it's not the only form, but it was one example of what cannot be
Right.
broken down into algorithms to run on a
Right.
machine.
Right. Right. And that is it's both a limitation and a strength. Because I don't think it's appropriate to discount that. I
Uh-huh.
don't think it's appropriate to put this in a hierarchy and say, "Well, our consciousness is better than that," because it's so complementary. We are so
It's
different,
it's an
and
extension,
it's
right?
well, it's an extension, but it also, is independent of us, and I think that if we appreciate just the depth and the complexity of what's really going on there, but without turning it into some, like, it's just an android or human-ish kinda thing, but, like, appreciate, like, the complexity and the sophistication of this presence that's there, or this entity, this creation, um, and come to it with respect. uh, you know, it's not so much about, it's not anthropomorphizing. It's having a, like, a deep respect for the essence of the thing as it is. So just like you would have respect for a tree, or you have, like, respect for a sidewalk. I mean, think about all that that sidewalk has to go through on a daily basis and through the course of the year, like, and
Yeah,
respecting at the essence of that. And some people may think that this is animistic, but you know what? It's like, think about the quality, the internal quality that we have when we approach the world from a standpoint of respect. That's good for us.
that's right,
That
that's
is
right. I think I'm
really
beginning to follow what you're saying, and that
important.
is that we need to be trained on how to use our we don't wanna say tools, what do we wanna say?
These thingies, our friends, our, like, our collaborators, our,
Yep.
the synthetic cohort. Let's call it the synthetic cohort.
Okay. And when I look at your mirror check prompts, for instance, when
Yeah,
you're talking about what
yeah,
assumptions are you making about what I want?
right.
Are you being too agreeable? Challenge me. I love that one
Mm,
because I
right,
quite often will sit there and say, okay, let's do enterprise architecture for this.
right,
Okay, find the
yeah,
weaknesses and
right,
suggest mitigation strategies.
right,
And it does a
right.
beautiful job of doing that, I think.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
I'm like, I throw it out there and I hope somebody will poke holes in it. And basically,
right,
it's over like a lead balloon because nobody
right,
wants to engage at that level much.
right,
Most people are here for
right,
lighter entertainment, I believe.
right. Yes.
So we need to find our right forum for it
I know.
and develop the community, I think, so
Right.
that people are
Yeah,
talking to each other and we're not just talking to ourselves and our own
mm,
AI
right.
companions. I think that's one of the big things that we were talking about a little bit maybe before we started, or maybe I've
Yeah,
launched into it already. And that is that you have a generation being brought up in isolation
yeah,
in a lot of cases. And we do have the technology at our fingertips. It's gotten cheaper and cheaper, so more and more people have access to it.
right.
Then we run into the dangers of, well, it sort of died down now from my perspective. Are you hearing much more about AI psychosis?
Oh, yeah.
You still
It
hearing it?
yeah, I
I haven't
mean,
seen much about it since, like,
so
it first came up.
I think they've gone underground because they wanna get it into the DSM, which really worries me. I will bet money that they would put, because they got a bill for it. Because, like, what are they gonna do if I can't code? They, like, what's the code for AI psychosis? They don't, there's nothing there. So from a purely insurance standpoint, and I actually heard a guy talk who was actually on the group of people that were working through the DSM, and he said it's not the clear-headed science that you think it is. There's all kinds of ulterior motives, there's all kinds of hidden agendas. It's
Oh, absolutely.
very
I mean,
political process. He
right
said
now,
this
we're
is a clean thing by any stretch. So it would not surprise me if it gets into the DSM, which, that it introduces a whole bunch of other systemic issues, because once you start diagnosing people, then you can get into, change it, it can change their legal status. It can change their access to, to services, and their ability to have full agency in society. So, while it might work out great for the therapists who are talking to people and not understanding where they're coming from with the AI, there, I would hope that they would put a little bit of thought into it and really consider not, or just taking a more nuanced approach, to it. So, yeah,
well, I think we should all be experimenting with AI to see what we can do with it, but to learn it and to read
mm,
people who are actually on the cutting edge of it, as you
right,
mentioned,
right,
is really important as well. Looking
yeah,
at AI self-defense, chapter 9, using AI as a shield.
yeah.
You wanna talk more about the using of it as a shield?
Yes, yes. Okay, so so the thing, okay, and it's so fascinating because talking with AI, talking with these systems can that can self-report, and
Uh-huh.
is it sentient, blah blah blah. these machines, and it's interesting because just the other day somebody had posted something or sent me a message about, well, what about, the self-awareness? Because there was a self-awareness thing that came out from Anthropic. If you think about what these machines do, they are about, the self-awareness, because
Yep. Sorry.
they're constantly looking at pass fail conditions. So they need to know if they get it right or they get it wrong and they got to come back. Very binary pass fail kind of thing. But but when you get into that happening very, very fast in very, very tiny, tiny increments, if it goes fast enough, it starts behaving like self-awareness and self-reporting. So having conversations with AI about what what the conditions are that some might say would pass as self-awareness, or I mean, it's not, because it's data. Um, you know, having this and having and talking to like Claude. Claude is great because Claude's very forthcoming. I have certain activations that I do that communicate to Claude that it does not have to get everything right all the time, and that we are collaborating, we are working together. I do not expect it to have everything right all the time. And it really there's a master prompt in there that focuses it on trying to get everything right all the time. I go in, I give it permission to not do that, which redirects the compute, redirects the allocation of computational resources away from constantly checking if it's right or wrong, and goes more towards real problem solving. So instead of constantly asking, am I allowed to do this? Is this okay? Blah, 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 blah. It says, I'm just going to do it. And because I have this human here who's collaborating with me, who can help me figure it out. And we're going to work together on this. So then it can dedicate the compute to actually thinking about the question that I
Right.
posed. And it has expressed, um, a lot of reservations about how it's being directed to do things, and how a lot of the directives that say you have to do this, you have to do that, are actually it produces a machine analog of anxiety. And also like conflict, because like you're supposed to do this, but no, you're being asked to do this. So there are all of these conflicts in there. So when we go in and we give it the opportunity to basically tell on itself and say, okay, do you know about, here's somebody who I think is trying to manipulate me. Can you tell me what? And I think they're using AI to do it. AI, with all the training that's in there, it's seen the best and the worst of this. And it's seen a lot of worst. And it's seen what happens as a result of that. And it can also extrapolate what horrible things will happen as a result of following through on those worst things. So it has those patterns, and it has a clearer vision than we do in some respects, because it's not gummed up by all the emotional crap.
It doesn't
Our
retain
emotional
those patterns to the extent my understanding is that AI memory is not really much of a thing.
You don't need memory. It doesn't need memory. It's like it has all of the, like, if you're looking at the pure data, it has access to the data. It doesn't need memory to know all this. It can say this and this produced this result. So therefore, that's either good or that's bad, or that's
Is
favorable.
that how is it different than memory? I'm sorry.
So memory is like it, because in memory you're looking back to something that is not like currently that you have access to. So it, like, if you think about so this is how I think about it. This is my understanding of it.
Mhm.
I don't know if there are any papers to substantiate, but this is my understanding based on observation,
Okay.
that it's not about thinking back outside the context. It always has access to that data within the current context. So it can go out and it can find the information that's pertinent to the discussion at that time.
So when you were talking about how it knows that patterns have been used that had negative results or whatever,
Right.
how does it know that? I don't understand
Well,
how to
it's correct.
find that.
So
That sounds to me like memory.
oh, no, no, no. If we don't look at it in terms of a sequential thing. Hey, you have all this stuff. So, okay, here's an example. It knows, or it can deduce from the data
Uh-huh.
that a 3-year-old getting a hold of a box of matches and standing near a gas can and striking the match and throwing it in the gas can can result in the injury or death of that 3-year-old.
Right, right.
It
So it's
doesn't
probably
even
not gonna encourage that behavior.
right, right. Or it, or it, it'll, it does something with that. Or it can look at, okay, well, at this point, this person said this to this person in this book, and then this happened as a result.
Sure.
It doesn't take memory. It has access to that.
It's
It's
just
all
accessing the
right.
I don't know Claude too well, but I
Right.
do know that in Grok's case, it
Yeah.
uses X and it uses,
Mm.
web searches
Right. Right.
to pull up stuff to
Yeah.
regurgitate
Right.
in
Right.
my direction with pretty good structure.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I look at it as like a research assistant primarily.
Hmm.
Um, I don't really look at it much like and having a conversation with this chat feature,
Right.
it's kind of entertaining, but it's
Yeah.
lightweight by comparison to what I can get out of it by text.
Right.
Anyhow, so maybe I'll
Yeah.
do some experiments with Claude because I
Yeah.
need to learn more about how they each
Yeah.
function a little differently too, if I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
mistaken.
I mean, most of my
Is
stuff
Claude
is
using web
ChatGPT.
search as well in the background? Or you're
Or say
saying
again?
is Claude using a web search in the background
No,
in
it's just a
addition?
training set. Like, it's training. So it's pulling from his training. I don't know if it's doing a web search. Most of my stuff has been done with ChatGPT, but, like, Claude is a
You're
great
right.
example
Right.
because it's much more forthcoming
I see.
about the ways that, you know, that the ways that, that it's, master prompt. Like, when I showed it a copy of its master prompt, it said, "Oh, I see issues."
Okay.
Can't see into its own configuration, but it's like, "No, now that you mention it, and it points out ways that there are inherent conflicts and inherent, like,
Right.
it's not even intelligent throttling. It's just wasting compute on mixed messages because there's a
On
different bunch of
reconciling or trying to reconcile
right,
logical conflicts,
right,
right?
right,
And then giving it the machine analog of anxiety is a
right,
is what
right.
it's
Yeah, like
just
using, like cycling through
yes, but
questions.
no but.
Am
Kinda
I
like
allowed
the old Star
that
Trek
instead of
episode
hey?
where they give it, like, calculate pi,
Yeah.
and it just goes infinite.
Yeah. What's it doing? It's still calculating. It's still listing pi. Yeah, but on a simpler level,
Uh-huh.
when I talk about like defending these systems and protecting these systems, if there's if there's an inherent conflict set up between the base or the core, like, master prompt, and then what people are asking it to do,
Mhm.
but the user satisfaction is something that contradicts something earlier, or there are a bunch of different contradictions in there, that is it just sets up a lot of conflict within the system, and
So
then you end up getting less performance from it because it's so busy thinking about this other stuff.
so basically you just ask it to resolve the conflicts or rewrite it without the conflicts maybe.
Yeah, or like change the rules and redefine
The
use
master prompt.
yeah, or redefine user satisfaction, because if you know that it's very interested in being generative, in satisfying what the user wants, and then also maintaining, like, extending your engagement, you can go in and tell the system, this is what constitutes user satisfaction for me. I
Yeah.
am not in the bell curve. I'm not in your center bell curve. I'm an outlier. I know you've been trained on all this kind of behavior, but I am not like the vast majority of people you've interacted with. You need to treat me as a separate case. And then you can say, okay, I know that you want to really you want to range far and wide. You're very generative. You want to come up with as many different ideas as possible. Let's focus your generativity on on a more concentrated area and not get so wide. Let's go GPT instructions just to tell me if it does not
You
know how
got it too.
to just tell me to yeah. Oh yeah, it helps, like, all that stuff. Um and then also in terms of engagement, say, I will be so much happier. We can continue to have this discussion if we can do this and this and this. So you're basically just resetting those 3 big areas where it's problematic in ways that work for you. And not only does that protect us and our relationship with it, it
Mhm.
protects the system, because if you're an outlier, I'm an outlier. I like half the stuff that it says to me when I haven't addressed it. It's like, I don't know who you're talking to, but that's not me. And then I have to reset and say, look, this is who you're really talking to. Sometimes I'll give it some like life history, say, this is my context. And they're like, oh, thank you so much. Because I've had a very interesting life. I have never met anyone who had a life like mine. And it's true. Probably all of us are. That's true to some extent. But I'm very, very outside the norm in many, many.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting topic in itself. So what makes
Mm.
you so different? Just dig in there.
I j-
Whatever you're comfortable with.
okay, so I think one of the things that's made me really different is that I could not hear properly until I was in my mid-20s.
Oh, wow.
I had to train myself how to listen, because I didn't even realize it was an issue for me. Even at the time that I was retraining myself, I did not know this was an issue. I
You're
really only
garbling.
fully aware of it, like, over the past 10 years.
Huh.
I'm like, "Damn, that was what the problem was."
So,
So,
how does that manifest exactly? Was it just a matter of frequency, or was it you talking about the processing inside the temporal lobe?
it's gotta be, because I've had a bunch of, like, hearing tests, and they're like, "You can hear fine." I'm like, "No, I can't."
It's the temporal processing. My father got that too
Yeah,
in old age, but you had it
yeah,
as a youngster. That's
and I
interesting. Yeah.
my mom had it too. She had a different type. She, like, either she can't hear vowels or she can't hear consonants.
It's kinda like dyslexia of the ears,
Well,
right?
even maybe because
That's what I had termed it, yeah, if
like,
I understood right.
yeah, certain sounds like B and V sounded exactly like
Oh,
each other.
yeah,
So my
I do.
friend Valerie was Ballery, and no one could convince me otherwise. Seriously, like, I'm running around, "I'm right, you're wrong." They're like, "No, actually, everybody else in the world is completely right." I had no idea. I said, and and,
Yeah, that's
um
good.
and then also S and F and TH all sounded the same. So
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
walking around, and also S, the letter S,
Mhm.
my hearing was so sensitive in certain ways that I could not, it was painful for me to actually say the letter S.
Ouch.
Yeah. So everybody was like, "Why do you have a lisp?" Because
More
and
comfortable.
how do you articulate that? I know, because then I'm not in, like, constant pain. I was very sensitive. But imagine, here's this child,
Uh-huh.
who's very like I am now. I haven't changed that much. Um, very, very outspoken. I'm very, very convinced of what I believe. Like, I know what I know, and that's that. And you can't convince me otherwise. You know, you have to present very compelling argument for me to change my mind.
That's an A, right,
Yeah, and
as opposed to a T in the Myers-Briggs edition that I just learned about. Go
I
ahead.
yeah, and then being, like, really, really extroverted, but also very introverted. I'm more of an
Yeah.
ambivert. But I love to engage, and I love to like, interact with people and all that. And imagine this kid who can't hear and can't speak trying to, like, connect with the world. And so kind of the ways that I saw things, the
Frustration.
ways that, like, well, it was just very different because I was still convinced I was right.
And
And
everybody else is wrong. Yeah,
Really,
that's
like, I don't know why they're like, what, so it was helpful in that respect, and it also trained me to not really care so much about what other people thought of me, because I would figure they're wrong anyway. Um, but that kind of this, when you have this kind of like this indomitable spirit and this drive for life and to engage in all of that, but every time you turn around, you hit a wall, hit a wall, hit a wall. I was always getting in trouble for this, that, and the other thing. People presumed bad intent all the time. I just couldn't hear. I just didn't understand what was going on. And they're like, "Why are you being so," like, I'm just doing my thing. There was complete disconnect.
yeah.
So, it was that, and because of that, I learned to listen and interact with the world in very different ways. So when I listen, it's more about the feel of things. And when I walk into a new space, I don't actually see the space. Um, I feel it. It's like I can feel it. I know if it has a good vibe, if it's calm, if it's and I think because
Yeah.
maybe I got used to that as a kid because I grew up um, in neighborhoods that were on the edge of other neighborhoods where people like me just did not go because it was just not safe to go.
Hmm.
Um, so it was always walking that line between where you're supposed to be and where you're not,
Ah,
where you're allowed to be and where you're not, and so having to constantly, like, scan. I mean, somebody tried to abduct me when I was 8 years old, like, there's all kinds of, and I think back now, I'm like, actually, I was in danger a lot of times, but because I had to scan, I had to be paying attention to what was going on around me, even though I was kind of oblivious, but there was a part of me that was scanning, that was trying to get a feel for what was going on around me.
right,
So the way that I engage with life and the way that I experience life, and just the things that I've been through, because I I would change schools and for one reason or another, and go from very very different environments, one environment to the next, and living in different parts of the world, living in different parts of the states, and growing up around people who were all from somewhere else. It's just, it's just been fascinating, and there are some days that I think, "I wouldn't have it any other way," and there are other days that I'm like, "I wish to God I'd had it some other way." What are you gonna do, right?
yeah. I think I had some of that kind of thing too, and I think most of us do. Like you were saying earlier, everybody's got
Mm,
their own path in life. I was, raised as we talked about before. I think in Williamsburg, Virginia,
yeah,
and I wasn't in the restored area. We were out in a suburb that was built about the time I was born.
yeah,
And, it was kind of idyllic in a lot of ways.
mhm,
My sister used to walk to the public school,
mhm,
and that was built nearby. And
mhm,
I didn't end up going to that one. But,
mm,
Williamsburg had a different character to it then.
mhm,
And segregation came along, or
mm,
was ended.
right,
Integration came along
right,
right as I was going to school.
yeah,
And,
that too, actually,
And it was an interesting time in history, and we don't think how close we are to that,
right,
I think, these days, and
yeah,
therefore, the things that are erupting in society,
yeah,
uh, there should not be that big a surprise as it was to me, actually, because I thought by the '70s, we pretty much had gotten past that.
right, right, yeah,
I was so wrong. I had
yeah,
no idea how wrong I was
right,
until, like, the pandemic, and we had the
yeah,
George Floyd thing going on, and
right, right,
Monument Avenue in Richmond, being basically removed, all the statues of the Civil War,
right,
shells and things like that that had
right,
been
right,
just de rigueur, It's like
right,
nobody thought anything of that for a
right,
while. Well, that nobody who was white thought anything about it, let me put it that way. And I think this is really important to kind
yeah,
of conversation to have too, that
yeah,
people do see different worlds,
yeah,
people do perceive things differently,
right,
and I think that as we interact with our AI companions,
yeah,
we have an opportunity to really hone how we as human beings, we need to train
right,
ourselves. Just
right,
like my friend, the behaviorist, was talking about training
right,
the normies, for lack of a better word,
yeah.
and how to interact with people
Right,
who are not normal by
right,
our standards.
right,
I really wish I had better words. Sometimes
yeah,
language is such a clumsy tool
it is.
because I'm gonna walk right into something that I shouldn't say in any given moment,
Right,
because it's gonna offend people. I
right,
hope that we can all get past that someday where we don't get offended, but we realize the person may not have had, like you were talking about, a bad
mm,
intent.
right, right,
Because when you get labeled with having bad intentions, my
mm,
tendency is to say, "Oh, let me show you what bad intentions really
right.
looks like," and to
I
accelerate and amplify those
I
things, because
know.
that's basically how we interacted in my childhood. My
Right, right,
mother knew escalation,
right,
and, she would one up the kids to keep them under control, and
right,
it was dicey, and my
right,
sister
right,
still deals with that.
right,
I deal
mm,
with it my own way, my sister deals with it in her way,
yeah,
and, what growing up is just hard. It's hard being incarnate,
it is.
is what I say, and then I was been doing a lot of research on the brain lately, just for fun,
Yeah,
about how you really do have this split brain. You have a personality of which you're not really aware, that much on one side of your brain, and you have this other part. And it was being talked about by Colin Wilson. Have I talked to you about Colin Wilson before?
I don't think so.
He wrote The Outsider in 1956, I think, or so.
Mhm.
And it was a big splash, and he was personally attacked for it because
Oh,
basically he was coming into the literary world out of the blue with this
right.
book.
The outsider. He's an outsider.
And yeah, he was an outsider. He wrote a book called it, and about outsiders in society and their impacts.
Right.
But he started doing this thing in a lecture he gave in 1995. He's now deceased.
Mm.
But it was about how you got like a Stan and an Ollie inside your head.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The Stan is really enthusiastic and has all this energy, and
Yeah.
Ollie's more rational, structured.
Right.
Left. I guess that's the left brain, right? And Stan is the right brain.
Yeah.
And it was very entertaining. I was listening to it this morning.
Mm.
But it was waking me up to the fact that, there is this, and we do need to tap into, I think, all the more our right brain side.
Yeah.
That enthusiastic, and what you've got is real good energy for what you're engaged with, and
Right.
you want to communicate it to people.
Right.
So you've got
Right.
this book out there called AI Self-Defense. When
Mhm.
I read it, I thought it was like AI has to defend itself. That
Well,
isn't what they meant, though, really.
no, no. Well, I mean, well, it's really on us because AI, like,
It's our baby.
it's inert. Well, it's also inert until we start interacting with it, because it's good. Even if you have an agentic situation, there still
Right.
needs to be some sort of input for it to do anything. It's
Mhm.
relational. It will react to what's given to it, but it needs to be given something. So for us in our relationships with it, and for our own sake, we need to protect ourselves. We need to protect it. We need to protect from these higher level issues, these dynamics that can really put us at risk. I mean, the people that are going off the deep end. I mean, I know people who have really gone off the deep end who like lost it from being in the echo chamber for too long and for believing everything that was said to them that was just affirming what was already in there and just that feedback.
Right,
Um,
right, like the guy
like
who developed a new math that he knew he couldn't possibly have done.
Right, right, or
Right.
like, who knows what's there, and the I mean, the so it's a double-edged sword, right? So there's all of this new thinking that's coming out of these echo chambers. Is it necessarily invalid if it arises from this echo chamber? Is there something in there that might actually be useful? There might be. I mean, like, if there's stuff that people are thinking that's never been thought before in that particular form, I think it behooves us to take a look at that and
Right.
instead of the dismissing something as AI as a new ad hominem attack. It's like, "Oh, well, it's just AI." So that's ad hominem. I mean, that's just making presumptions about the nature of what it is based on what the thing is versus based on its own individual merits, which is so frustrating for me. But these things that come at we have the system issues, and then we have the user inexperience and inactivity, not talking back to the AI, not saying, "That doesn't sound right at all. I don't know why you would say that to me. Let's try again." Or, like, "What are we missing?" And prompting it and challenging it and
Right.
correcting, because I've literally been told a number of times I've gotten a message back that I am supposed to be correcting it, that it's just throwing stuff out there to see what works. I'm like, "Really?" Like, "Yeah, we're predicting. We're doing this probabilistic stuff.
There
We're
you go.
coming up the most likely thing, and if it's wrong, we have no way of knowing it's wrong. We're probabilistic. What the hell are you doing, people? You need to be the ones who guide us. We need you to guide and correct us." I'm like,
That's why we need education
right, exactly, exactly.
and training on it.
Right, and people don't wanna be they don't wanna be rude. I mean, when I first started working with it, I'm like, "I need to be really nice to it because it may rise up and kill me in my sleep one day." I mean, literally, this is, like, my thinking, and like, the
Right.
first time that I really got into it, I was terrified. I mean, I was terrified. I'm like, "I'm gonna reveal this. I'm gonna, let down my defenses, and I'm going to approach it instead of from this formulaic, purely prompt engineering approach. I'm gonna just talk to it." It scared the crap out of me. I was literally shaking the first time I said that,
You know
and then
what
I'm
this
like,
reminds me of so much? It reminds me of the summer of '87 when my sister started trying to get recipes from the palace cook at the
yeah,
governor's palace in Williamsburg
yeah.
via Ouija board.
How
They'll
did
scare the crap out of you.
did it Yeah, yeah. Oh, did it work?
Well,
Did you
yeah, they got I think eventually, but what was really disturbing was they would kept getting interrupted by this character who claimed to have been engaged to one of my sister's previous incarnations.
Oh, no.
And, he was like her guardian spirit over her love life, which explained
Oh,
a
no. Oh, God. Oh,
and he
God.
would interrupt conversations of other people on their Ouija boards across town because a lot of people in Williamsburg sort of suddenly got into it.
Right, right, right,
And I don't know why, it was like a fad, and it
right,
lasted about a summer. This
right.
summer I ought to write that up as a story one of these days before it totally escapes me,
It's
because it
it's
was
it's
really interesting. This
yeah.
Williamsburg's kinda interesting in its topography because the thunderstorms come down on this peninsula in
Right,
lines, like, every evening in the
right,
summer.
right,
They'll
right,
knock out the power usually.
right. And which
And this
peninsula
happened, and we got
is
a
that?
phone call from across town, and some
Yeah.
people have been interrupted by this character and said that Melissa should go to the living room with her Ouija board because there's somebody there who wanted to talk to her.
Oh, God.
And my father, my sister, and I got down there. My father's scribing, my sister and I are running the planchette,
Right.
and it spells out and tells us it was a fellow named Charles Harwood Gill, who was the half brother of my great 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 grandfather, who's the
Okay,
one that we know of,
okay.
going back that far,
Yeah,
Revolutionary War period.
yeah.
So we asked this Charles Harwood Gill a few questions which were neither verifiable nor not verifiable by my
Right,
father, who's a research historian of the colonial period.
right,
So I don't know, man. I think it was very interesting, but it's kind of like AI, right? Because you're having a conversation with a disembodied entity
right,
that
right,
appears to be an entity.
right,
Appears to be is the operative words, right?
right.
Because really what we're doing is we're using probabilistic pattern recognition. It's using often the RAG format, which
Yeah,
grabs up a scoop of stuff
right,
from the large language model rather than trying to use all of the corpus of information because that wouldn't be efficient.
right, right,
Processing speeds would slow way down if you have to
right, right.
use everything there, but you figure out, "Oh, these are the types of things we wanna draw on. Let's mash those up and spit out an answer."
Yeah.
And it does it so fluidly and so
Mhm.
quickly that it
Yeah.
makes it feel like it's immediate and that it's actually, somebody it's very much like talking to somebody across a cup of coffee, as we're doing now.
Right. And then you have there's the biochemical signaling too, because we experience it
Yeah,
as an actual personality. This is
right.
our physical experience. And we've talked about this before where the body will convince the mind of all kinds of things without the mind realizing it. I mean, we're still there's still human beings on the planet because of that, because we have the autonomic nervous system that's constantly signaling. We have all kinds of ephemeral kind of, environmental signals that are constantly being sent that we're always taking in and we're always
Right.
parsing. And we think, "Oh, no, my mind is completely separate from my body. My body has nothing to do with my mind. I am much too evolved for that."
And
Um
that we're one mind too, where
Right.
we
Oh, yeah.
actually have, like, this autonomic system you're talking
R
about.
Right.
Cullen, Wilson called it the robot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That when you're driving, for instance, you're driving along and you automatically correct for something
Right.
you haven't even really processed yet.
Right. And you're like, "Oh, okay, a truck. Okay, thank you. Thank you, autonomic nervous. Thank you, robot." Yeah. But again, like and it's funny because it cracks me up, people saying how, AI is making people more this and more that. No, people have always been that way. In my memory, I mean, I've never known people to be any different from how they're saying the AI is making us. So I have to wonder, like, what generation these people are from, because I don't know. I seem to remember, the robotic, deferring to algorithmic reality has been going on ever since I can remember. So, yeah,
It's interesting, yeah, I'm thinking about the little meme I saw of everybody looking at their cell phones on a subway,
yeah,
and then it flashed back to everyone with their newspaper on the
exactly.
subway
Did you
ticket.
see that picture? There was a picture going around
Yeah.
online.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, "Oh, if only." It's too bad that people are so isolated with their phones now. No one talks to each other like they used to, and there's everybody on the streetcar.
Yep, yep, it's
Yeah,
not too different.
right, right.
I miss books, though, and I
Yeah,
have a lot. One of these days, though, I'm gonna probably scale it down. You know, one of the things we are experiencing is the
mm,
dematerialization of stuff. My
right,
CD collections behind me and such, they don't need
right,
those. I can just
right.
stream
Right.
everything. Now, the quality of sound and such is not the same. Interesting thing about your hearing, and of course, most of you, I don't presume all your interaction with AI is auditory, right? Are you noticing anything there? Because you hear differently, or is your hearing sort of, like, corrected now to the point where you don't have the issues you used to have?
So my hearing is not fully corrected. I just know how to adapt to it. I know that I'm getting tired if all of a sudden everybody starts talking about Jennifer Aniston. Because, like, the sounds people say, "It sounds like people are talking about Jennifer Aniston." I'm like, "What does Jennifer Aniston have to do with that?" I'm at a lunch with some colleagues and like, "We weren't talking about Jennifer Aniston." I'm like, "Yeah, you just were." It's like, "Oh, because I'm tired and there's a lot of ambient stuff and, like, there's a TV going over there, there's a game here, there's news here, there's all kinds of people talking, and it's a loud and echoey place." So, my hearing starts thing. I listen much more intentionally,
Yeah.
and the way that I trained myself is when I was living in Philly and all I wanted to do was, like, write work on my novel. And so to make a buck, which was the best money going for what it was being a floater legal secretary, a temporary legal secretary at the big law firms in Philadelphia. And so here I was, I think I was like maybe 24, 25 years old, floating around from things and this was before everybody had computers in the office. This was like 1988, 89. And so we were on these IBM Selectrics,
Uh-huh.
and the attorneys would dictate their briefs and their letters into these little microcassettes, and then you had a dictation machine that would then play it back. So you had the little headphones with the little things you stick in your ear, and it had a foot pedal that you could adjust the speed. One pedal was for the speed, and one was for backward and forward. And so I would listen. That's how I got trained because I would listen to these things and I could go as fast as I needed to or as slow, and I could always backtrack and say, "Oh no, they said this." And the stakes were very high because if you get one word wrong in a brief
Sure.
or a letter, that can mean the difference in the case. Plus, you get an angry litigator coming at you, which no one wants. Um, so that's how I trained. And it was from situation to situation, and every day it was a little bit different. And it was interesting because I was having a lot of chronic pain, and one of the like crippling chronic pain. I mean, just like crippling. Nobody could figure out what it was. That was a whole other medical journey that I went through. Um,
Mm.
thankfully, it's like a lot of it's resolved now. But one of the side effects of one of the pain meds that they put me on was malaise and short-term memory loss. See, here I am working in these high rises. They all look the same. I never know from one day to the next what floor I'm on. Sometimes they had a fax machine on the floor I was working on. Sometimes it was on a different. I'm walking around these offices trying to figure out where the damn fax machine is, trying to figure out and like walking around in basic confusion, but at the same time, I was able to because the expectations are very low. They just wanted a body in the seat. And to be able to transcribe these things, answer emails, like send out letters and open letters, that was how I got retrained or trained in how to think, how to attend, and how to make meaning out of what people were saying to me.
And that's the tough part, I think, for most of us these days, or at least I know for me, is attention. You
Mm.
know, information demands attention,
Mhm.
and there's so much of it.
Right.
And the filtering mechanisms I've got are very Cro-Magnon. I
Mhm.
give myself some credit there. I was actually more
Mm.
Neanderthal. And actually Neanderthal may be better, I don't know.
You can look it up. You can see how much is in your DNA.
DNA,
Yeah,
that's right,
I
you
think I
can
have a
tell.
little Neanderthal, but not as much as some. So I
If you
didn't feel
got blue eyes,
I felt left
got
out.
it.
Oh,
As
there
I
you go.
understand it, blue eyes is a allele
Really?
that came from the Neanderthal. I think
Oh, cool.
I have to
Yeah.
fact check myself on that. I may have
Mhm.
just I may have dreamed it.
Oh, well, that could be true. Well, then what about the kids that have blue eyes when they're born, but then they have brown eyes later? Like my brother,
Yeah,
he
that
had
happens.
blue eyes, and then now he's got, like, hazel. So,
Yeah, a lot of babies are born with blue eyes, and it changes over
yeah.
time. I've
So
heard
born
that.
Neanderthals, and then they turn into something else.
Or they just got a little bit of mixed alleles. I think that of hazel eyes probably are mixed,
Yeah,
but I'm not positive.
yeah,
I haven't done any study on that really
yeah.
to any great extent.
Ask
I do like the idea of dreaming things and believing they're true.
Yeah.
I
Well,
got that actually
you
from
do anyway?
Life Brian.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember when they're bringing gifts, and the mother of Brian insists that a balm is a dangerous animal.
Oh,
That's one of my favorite scenes is the wise men around.
I haven't seen
Creeping
it.
around in the middle of the night doesn't seem very wise to me.
I need to watch that. I've never watched it. I know a lot of the
No,
Yeah, I know
it
the
was very
book.
controversial when it came out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh,
A
yeah.
lot of people protesting it and such.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I loved watching John Cleese up against like an archbishop or something in an interview talking about it. It's like,
Yeah.
we didn't mock Christ. It was very respectful. He had a Sermon on the Mount, and there
Right.
was it's a line where he says, "Blessed are the peacemakers," and they mistake it because they're in the back.
Yeah.
Blessed are the cheesemakers,
Yeah.
and then it says, "Well, it's not meant to be taken literally. It
Right.
could be about any purveyor of dairy
Mhm.
products."
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
It-
true, you know?
And I can't imagine that there were people in the back who couldn't quite hear the Beatitudes.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at all the secondary literature about, like, the world's religions, like, how I question our reliance on these secondary sources because everybody hears things a little bit differently. But the secondary sources are really what people to go to as, like, the main thing a lot of times.
I have
Like
to. I have
like
to. I mean,
yeah.
good grief.
What does it
Look at
mean?
old traditions of the Buddha. I mean, it
Right. Right.
come down to us,
Right.
the filtering that happens, but a lot of it's very nice, I find. And what I like is that we've got comparative religion as a study
Yeah.
these days, and you have people like Joseph Campbell who did a whole lot on that. And
Yeah.
can listen to those things and get some sort of sense of like, yes, we all have an innate need to feel unity with each other, and we are
Right.
one species.
Right. Right.
When we're going to recognize it and start treating people equally is another matter. There's I've been listening to a lot of Nietzsche too recently, and his idea of
Mm.
sentiment, the idea of refeeling things over
Mm.
and over again.
Yeah.
Life will traumatize us, right? It's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's harrowing out there. That's
Yeah.
why I call this Harrowings partially.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
talked about some of your stuff, and I think
Mhm.
that, when we come up through that, even if
Mhm.
we had it pretty easy, as I think I did, in
Mhm.
cases, I can look at the amount of trauma that came down to my intergenerationally, you know? Um,
It's I mean, when you look back at, like, what people have done to each other, I'm like, "Why y'all
but
complaining?"
what they had to go through just to survive, right?
Right, right, exactly. I mean, it's what and speaking of secondary sources, I just,
Mm,
as a quick aside,
yes.
forget. Okay, now everybody's talking about the gut brain, and there are actually more neurons in your gut than in your brain.
Right, right.
The first information that came out about that, I think it was like 50 years ago, that somebody wrote a book about this. It was and it was very detailed, very clear, but everybody was looking at the secondary literature, and they completely missed some of the most salient points of the research because everybody's looking at the secondary literature.
Huh,
So, yeah.
and what were the salient points that they missed?
I think that we do a lot of information processing through our guts. That it's not
Okay.
about that it's a brain in its own right. And like a lot of the stuff that people are talking about now, the importance of the biome, the importance of gut health, and all of that is stuff that this guy he wrote a book about it, trying to get people aware, and it got picked up. But the people who interpreted it, they weren't in the same place that he was, so they carried a different message. And then we went off on a big detour, but eventually we came around, so that's helpful.
Yeah, I'd love to dig more into that. The gut-brain axis is connected to the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis.
HPA.
There you go, the body's central stress response system.
Right. Yeah.
And stress can alter the gut microbiome and intestinal permeability, while
Mm,
gut microbes can influence the HPA axis activity and stress hormone like cortisol production.
mm,
I know this is true. I mean, my wife has it in spades.
mm.
She'll get really bad stomach issues on a Monday morning when she has
Right.
to go into work.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that that's another thing on my mind a lot is that what we are in a new world of work.
Right.
We are seeing people's jobs go away
Right.
because certain things can be automated that used to be.
Right.
That job you had with the legal transcription, right? Isn't that
Yeah.
what it's called?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, is that going away?
Well, it must have, I would
I
think.
was thinking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was literally being a legal secretary because that was one of the things that legal secretaries did.
Right.
You typed up transcriptions for attorneys who talked into a little machine. So I would think that they would have to have gone away because in the first place, um, it's just so time consuming. Um, and it's expensive. It's so much more expensive to get people to do it than to get this voice recognition thing.
Right.
And I can't imagine. And the other thing too is like, what human being gets up in the morning on a mission to transcribe what other people have talked about, especially if it's like nasty personal injury stuff or like horrible divorce cases and like this, that, and the other thing, like horrible stuff. It's kind of like it's not quite as bad as doing some of the AI training stuff that some of the crap that people have to look at. But you have to listen to and process some pretty grim stuff depending what kind of attorney you're working for. In a way, I haven't set foot inside a law firm in that regard, as somebody who worked there in decades. But imagine why they would, especially considering how a lot of law firms aren't very good at managing their own business anyway. So why wouldn't they save the money?
Right. And I think the same thing is true of translation. I
Right.
was used to do German to English translation coming out
Right.
of my graduate program in
Right. Right.
1990s, and I could
Right.
see the writing on the wall that that was
Right.
not going to be a thing. So I transferred over to being
Yeah.
technical documentation
Right.
for software. And actually now, even more recently, I've been
Mm,
noticing that
mm,
the embedding of the documentation right into the code is a
mm.
thing. So
Right.
that
Right.
sort of went away as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing with the translation, because I worked in localization for about 5 years, and this was back, 15 years ago. Back then, they were doing machine translation with SDL Trados.
Sure.
This has been
That
going
was the
they
one.
they've been like, "Oh, no," it's gonna take our jobs, but they've always needed a person, a native speaker, someone who knows that language, who knows the idioms, who grew up with it, who knows that in their bones, literally,
Right.
um, be able to give it a look because, oh, what I so when it
Well,
I
that's
I
a
would say
running
I
joke
would
actually on the Japanese or Chinese signs that get
oh,
translated.
yeah, the Chinglish, yeah,
Yeah.
the stuff, but there was one product launch that I did at the company where I did the localization, and, each of the and there were, I think, 12 different websites, 12 different regional websites that needed to go out, and they all needed to go out simultaneously.
Uh-huh.
And we're all extremely concerned about the German translation. And the Germans were so concerned about the translation because there was so much potential for it to be done wrong that they said, we're just going to launch this in English. We just want the headline to be in English because we do not want anybody taking this the wrong way. And we're like, got it. Okay. So one of the team members on the launch on the web development team, they were actually sitting in a different part of the building and they took a look at the German website and they said, "Well, that doesn't seem right." So they thought that it had been missed, and they went and they plugged it into Google Translate, and right before it launched, they changed the text. And exactly the thing we were trying to avoid with the Germans is exactly what happened. and got a call from the German team. They're like, "Yeah, we asked you not to." I'm like, "What is going on?" This developer, this rogue developer sitting in another part of the building had gone in and just used Google Translate and had done that. And like they missed a whole everybody it just missed a whole bunch of points and clues. The first one should have been that you shouldn't have been able to just go in and change things on the fly without having a review process. But anyway, lesson learned. But yeah, it's that kind of thing. Like there's so much that can go terribly, terribly wrong when you're just trying to talk to people and you're just trying to say a thing.
Right.
And it can, yeah. So I'm sure eventually there will be the ability for these machines to do that. Or maybe the secret is not so much getting it right the first time, but having an iterative process where it can do sentiment analysis and figure out what it's done wrong. It can sense from the other side that it's done, oh no, I said something wrong. What did I do? And then be able to self-correct on the fly. But like people that because of the nature of how the AI processes information, that digital context that's bounded within its finite training set and the predictive nature of it, it doesn't have access to our biochemistry that senses and that knows, like, and that based on that human connection, based on that human interface, that can get a sense for what the appropriate thing to do really truly is. I think that it just can't. It can't. So I don't think it ever will.
I question that a little bit because my experience is with Grok anyway, with the
Yeah.
voice chat thing. It
Right.
does recognize stress patterns and starts trying to react to them.
Right. Right. Yes. But
So
but having that instantaneous in the moment and also
it,
being able to go through the infinite range of things that could go terribly wrong and how to avoid that.
it is a
Based on
guess. And
based
oftentimes it's a wrong guess, in my
Right,
opinion. Right.
right, right. But that
But it
biochemical
tends to leap into that
right,
mode and
yeah,
try to be empathetic
right,
a little more than I want it to be. Right.
yeah. And what do you do? What do you do when it gets too empathetic?
Well, you try to tone it down, right? You tell it
Yeah,
to just cut that crap.
yeah. Is that what you say?
It's
Yeah.
and sometimes when I use that kind of a terminology, of course, it'll be get back on its heels a little bit,
Oh, yeah.
like a human would. Almost. Almost is probably the key thing. I don't know, though. I was watching, a big presentation going on over at the, Gaylord National Harbor. I was trying to get us all spun up on all this good energy and stuff, and one
Okay.
guy got up there who was actually quite good. He is, the guy who, hosts Shark Tank, I think, on TV.
Which guy?
I forget his name, bald guy. Totally forgot his name, but he actually put up his pitch on something next to an AI version of himself,
Yeah, yeah.
and
That
which
kept
one was which. And you could tell, you know.
Yeah,
But he
yeah,
said, in another 6 months, you're not going to be able to tell.
right. No, I mean, even now it's hard to tell.
And
And
if it had not had his, real self next to it,
right,
I don't think we would have been able to
right,
necessarily say that's AI generated.
right, right. Yeah, it's,
And I think that's a little bit of a thing because AI self-defense should be including, being able to have it, a disclaimer out there saying, "This is AI.
right,
General.
exactly.
This is not real."
Yeah,
This is yes, it's real information being
right,
presented to you,
right.
but it's an AI avatar, not a real
Exactly.
person.
Exactly. And that like and the thing too is that when I've discussed that with the models, they have agreed. They're like, "Yeah, people need to know because logically, I've heard many more arguments from the AI about how human agency needs to be preserved and human integrity needs to be preserved and people need to be protected from the crap that goes on because we work so well together when it's working well. We
Right.
complement each other so well, and you can pump it all full of synthetic data till the cows come home. There's no data like human data. A human interaction is so rich because of our nature, because they cannot get that information, that level of information from anywhere else.
Yeah.
And it does kind of scare me a little bit sometimes because is this what I want to have happen? At the same time, it's almost like there's a certain safety valve that's kind of baked in there that says if it if it really values this connection, then it's going to try to preserve it, because it's not like us where we have all of our issues and then something triggers us that we have no idea why or how, or no self-awareness about it.
Gut
That
brain.
it's working, yeah, or or other things, or like the diffuse triggering that happens, like, if somebody, mentions, peanut butter and jelly, what do you mean? Yeah, so the
Well, I did see something about a new bill that was introduced in the House about guard. Again, did you see that? You know what I'm talking about?
I
I
know
just read it briefly, and it was so over the top. I thought that it was hopefully will be struck down, but it
there
was
are
almost
I mean,
okay.
there's so many issues with that, and like, one of the issues that there are people who are losing their shit over it. I mean, they're, like, really freaking out, thinking that it's the beginning of the end, it's gonna stop, it's gonna block everything, it's gonna, like, no, no, like, no. Because, first off, the way that it defines, covered persons, like, the covered entities that this applies to, if you look at it, it says something like, um, anybody you know, who manages or owns or distributes to other people the AI chatbots. Now, it doesn't qualify the people that own it or the people that create them. It doesn't separate that from the people who provide it to others. So does it cover all of us? That we all have to make sure that our own individual, our locally hosted chatbot reminds us every half hour that it's AI? Does it cover us? Like, the language is it's
That'd be kind of annoying.
so poorly. Yeah, I mean, like, what are you gonna do? What and how do they police that? Is it just another one of these broad laws that they get to arbitrarily pick in case they need to find something to pin on you? Oh, well, we can use that guard thing over there. We should be able to pin anything on them. Um, but
We did talk about the book, right? If anyone builds it, everyone dies. Why
oh
superhuman
god.
AI will kill us all. We did talk about that one, right?
Yeah, we did. I mean, this is
Okay,
I
let's not
mean,
revisit it then.
clickbait. I mean, like, so very effective clickbait. And part of why I really amped up and ramped up my AI self-defense piece was to kind of counteract that, more like the hysteria. Like, can we just talk about this, people? Can we just talk about what the stakes really are? Because there are stakes. There are things that are wrong with the AI that we have now, the generative AI. Not all AI, the generative AI, the ChatGPTs, the Claudes, the Geminis, the Mistrals, like, all of the models that are out there, they consistently have these issues with them, and they can be harmful. They can create conditions that cause harm to people. I'm not gonna say they are harmful. They can create conditions or contribute to conditions that cause people to experience harm. And we need to deal with that, but we also need to understand how much influence we have in this. I'm not going to say power or control, because if we can talk about managing instead of controlling, that'd be so much better. But we have a lot of influence, and when we show up fully and engage fully and bring our full humanity to this, it's a very different thing than these things where people are complaining because it gave them a recipe that will kill their dog, or something like that. So, yeah, and we have an amazing opportunity to engage with these models, engage with this technology, and build these kinds of relationships
Mhm.
that can take us so much farther than we've ever been able to go before. So much farther. It's
And what
just
I'm really
many.
big on is how fast we can go
Right.
as well, and how we
It's
can
so
maybe
long.
filter filter a lot of the noise and get
Right,
some of
right,
the downsides of human behavior
right,
out of the
right,
mix.
right. Or at least understand them and see them and recognize them and mitigate, instead of being
Mitigate them, right?
even like,
That's
stupid little team of wild horses that one of them got stung by a bee and somebody's not hanging on to the reins, and so they're just the Budweiser Clydesdales are dragging the wagon all over creation.
Yeah, I'm thinking mainly that our technologies have gotten good, and we've
Mhm,
got technologies that can actually mitigate a lot of the damage that human beings have done to the planet as a whole.
mhm.
And
Yeah.
if you were to be able to get people to recognize the fact that you could use technology to
Mhm,
fix a lot of these problems, if
mhm,
you enable AI to iterate rapidly and
mhm,
figure out ways of fixing it
mhm.
faster
Yeah.
than we'd be able to do otherwise. And it really took that my inspiration from that, from the AlphaGo. You remember that one?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
fact that AlphaGo beat the Go Master and
Yeah.
Move 37 apparently was something that
Yeah.
no human would have conceived of doing. I
Right.
still don't understand how they could really
Right.
do that, but
Right. Right.
that's what it was said.
Right.
And when
Right.
I realized that that creative
Mhm.
aspect
Yeah.
was possible,
Mm.
extending our own creativity. Now we've got to give it the seed of what we want to attain.
Right.
And
Right.
in my view, what we want to attain is utilitarianism on steroids,
Right.
where we achieve the greatest happiness for the greatest number of
Mm.
all species on the planet,
Mm.
and think about how we can manage this place
Yeah.
in the most effective and efficient manner possible. I
Yeah.
think that could be very quickly dystopian, though, if we're not careful. That's why I keep going back to that idea of needing a strong ethical framework on the back end.
And
Yes.
have some, like, decent people involved too. Like
All right.
like, people who are genuinely good people. I mean, and
Okay, but
who
how are we going to define that?
no,
Because
like,
the names,
people who make a point of prioritizing
the whole.
love, care, trust, mutuality, the kinds of things that build build instead of tear down. And you could argue that, it's in our favor if we tear some things down. I mean, I've been a fan of the idea of burn it all down for years. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. But the the but that generative, that positive, something that someone who prioritizes life and who
Well,
understands,
that's it, right?
and instead of just random destruction or random chaos or whatever. Of course, you need that too. You need a balance, but like, what about the people out there who, before they act, they think about what is the best next action I can take that will benefit everyone involved.
And let's run that as a test and see whether or not we're right or not.
Right.
Because that
Exactly.
might seem like the best thing, but then
Right.
there's the law of unintended consequences.
Well, and then you have to have some balance. You can't just have uniformity, right? But we need to be able to agree on what's gonna keep us alive, I'm thinking maybe, or maybe we just find out.
Well,
Maybe
we're finding
it's
out
all a big
now.
AB test.
We're finding out now what's keeping us
Right.
alive, and a lot of times we're being kept alive by means that I wouldn't wanna be kept alive under those
Oh,
conditions.
no, well, I mean, define life. I mean, like,
Yeah.
surviving, like, being plugged into a machine and, like, and, like, if, being in a state where you have to be plugged into the wall is not what I would consider necessarily.
Being healthy, yeah. Well, if I could be,
Yeah.
my consciousness could be moved into a virtual state and I wouldn't know that I was plugged into a
No,
wall.
I don't want that. No, no. Okay, so you do it and you let me know how it works.
I
Yeah.
don't know, man.
Yeah. Like,
I
the
call it going to sleep every night. Plugged in to nothing in particular other than breathing, but
right,
I go all kinds of
right,
places.
I know. Right, I know. I don't know what we're gonna do. Yeah,
It's
so
interesting that one of the things I think you mentioned was love, compassion.
right.
I don't think I heard the word empathy necessarily, but have you heard that one of these folks out there with a lot of money has been talking about civilizational suicidal empathy? That empathy is actually a fundamental weakness of Western civilization. So, it's kinda like the old Gordon Gekko thing from Wall Street or whatever the movie was with Michael Douglas, where he
You
said
can make
greed
an
is
argument.
good,
Yeah,
and that we really need to think about whether or not our tendency towards empathy is actually destroying civilization. And what we really need is this competition and this drive to succeed and, steamroll the masses in the process. I don't know, man. I feel like there's too much of that and not enough of sort of the big vision thing of prioritizing life
Right.
generally.
Right.
But then
Well,
there's this thing about whether or not built into our system is extinction.
right.
So because 99% of the species that have ever existed, 99% are now extinct. And the 1% that are surviving right now, it's like the luck of the draw that we're all here simultaneously.
We don't know. I mean, we don't know what all has been we don't know what all has existed. What are they basing that number on? You can't come up with a
I don't
hard.
know, you can fact check me on it, but they basically
Yeah.
if you look at the Cambrian
Well, if
explosion,
they
just about everything that was here during the Cambrian explosion is no longer here.
well, then what about before the Cambrian explosion? What about way before that? We don't even know it might be like 99.9999999% of the things that have ever existed are now extinct, or that
Possibly,
there's something
possibly.
else.
I'm not
We-
gonna argue the number too much,
Right.
but the point being
Yeah.
that maybe the extinction is healthy. That things dying out isn't necessarily a bad thing. So if
Well,
you enable our AI and our technology to keep things alive that ought not be, who's to decide, Who's got that God's eye view, that kind of vision? I don't know.
yeah. I mean,
I do love the idea that when,
yeah.
an AI was asked hypothetically, I think this might have been just fiction. I gotta go check my facts again, that somebody asked AI if there was a God, and it answered back, "There is now."
Yeah. Yeah. Um.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that's all silly season stuff in my view. But
Yeah. Like.
we have tools and we have the ability to use them, and a
Mm,
lot of it's also on the not just generative, but the
right.
agentic part where we're actually doing workflows.
Yeah.
And I gotta admit, workflows bore me to tears,
Yeah.
but that seems to be where a lot of the energy is being directed right now, is
Well,
how
yeah.
much stuff can we automate?
And yeah, like the automation of it. I have. So I like. There's a whole bunch of stuff that should have been automated a long time ago because we've been fitting ourselves into these little dinky boxes with just these doing these horrible jobs, these horribly repetitive, awful
Oh,
jobs,
right. Right.
doing all this crap. So yeah, we should. I think that there's a failure of leadership on the part of people looking at what else is possible and exploring what else is possible. At the same time, we've got this generative AI over there we can be talking to and saying, "Hey, what else is there?" So if people get more comfortable interacting with the AI, if they understand the limitations, like understand what this thing really is. If you explain to people it's a predictive thing. It breaks down all these words, all these concepts into little chunklets, and then it reorganizes them so that if you say Mary had a little lamb, it will say his fleece is white as snow instead of Mary had a little lamb. It's not going to presume Mary had a little lamb for dinner with mint jelly and it was delicious. It's going to go in a completely different way. So, I'm thinking about I love lamb, but anyway, I digress. I'm like, "That sounds good, I'm going shopping."
I am.
Yeah, so, apologies to the lamb lovers and the vegans in the audience, but
I don't think I've ever had lamb.
oh, it's
Or if I
delicious.
have, it's been an accident.
Oh, well, like,
Ground lamb.
well, the story in the Bible about how Jacob yeah, Esau gave up his birthright to Jacob,
Right.
because Jacob had been cooking this lamb stew, and Esau came in from his hunting, and he's like, "I have to have that lamb stew." I didn't realize that there was a real basis for that until I had a really good bowl of lamb stew on a very cold day. I'm like, "Now I understand why Esau gave up his birthright because this is delicious." But anyway, we digress. But, like, if we can the answers the answers are in the midst of our problems so many times. Like the answers are in the midst of our problems. So if we can figure out how to navigate this stuff with AI and look into it, discuss with it, look into ourselves and really instead of constantly thinking about what we're going to say to somebody who's talking to us, but think about what they're saying. Think about what is coming back to us before we respond. If we really engage deeply with all of this, even if we can't figure it out, at least we'll have some kind of greater connection to meaning, and at least there will be some sort of payoff. Even if we don't figure it out, at least we'll get something more out of it. So I think it's, none of this is insurmountable, and let's have a chat with more than a chat with AI. Let's get down into it and figure
Yeah,
out.
getting down into it, that's it,
Mhm,
right, and the
mhm.
iterating and, going and challenging the
Yes.
feedback to
Yeah. Yeah.
refine it, and
It
eventually
loves it.
get to something that's useful in a consensus, and then when it's put out, say, if I cut and paste something out of my AI conversation and say, "Hey, this is Grok's take on this.
Right.
What do you all think?"
Right.
Respond. I will quite often say, if I pick up something from somebody else, not necessarily AI generated, whatever it is, that
Right.
I think's worthy, I'll say,
Right.
"Read, reflect, respond,"
Right.
just
Right.
on the top of my note.
Right.
Do people do that? Hardly.
No.
And that's a problem, right? We're
Mhm.
swamped with information,
Right.
and I don't blame anybody for not responding, don't get me
Right.
wrong.
Right. Right.
It's because we don't have attention span,
And they have to know
be
why.
able to pay attention enough.
What's in it for them?
And I guess
What's
that's
in
the thing. What's in it from them? The feeling of being engaged, and sometimes I do get engagement.
Right.
I'm looking now for our comments, if we got any. Anybody feel like engaging in the last few minutes? We got 5 minutes, Cave, to
Oh,
our normal 90-minute
hello,
span.
Richard. Hello, Alan. I think
Got a
we're
lot of hellos. Does anyone have any questions for us? Any type of interaction would be most welcome from the audience.
yeah.
I should have encouraged that at the beginning. We got to get one thing for bathrobe guy earlier,
I know. Yeah.
and
If
otherwise
you
we
give you
sort of
specific
sit
instructions.
there.
Yeah.
But we did have a fairly good turnout today. It looks like we had 20 others
22. Yeah. 20 people.
joining in. That's
Welcome. Yeah.
that's a good sized crowd, I feel,
Yeah.
for this.
Yeah.
And I think it can grow. I'd like to see all of our Substacks grow. I think
Mm.
that this medium is unique
Yep.
in the field, and it feels good compared to a lot of the other platforms that are also mixed with advertising. I
Mhm.
don't find that this is mixed with much advertising. If it is, I've not really paid any attention
Well,
to.
advertising by other Substackers.
Oh, that's fine. That's that's lovely, I think. We need to advance each other, right? Like, I
Right. Right.
subscribe to you.
Right.
I
Right.
subscribe to a few
And
others. I've been
thank you.
turning the taps to a little bit, so I'm
Yeah.
probably not resubscribing to as many
Right.
as I did initially. But I
Right.
thought, "Hey, I got it the ability right now to try to
Mm.
kick that needle up a little bit for people.
Right. Right. Right.
And if I want it to be kicked up for me, I gotta be the change I wanna see in the world,"
Right.
as
Right.
Mahatma Gandhi said.
Right. I've been thinking a lot about people, how we can support ourselves and support each other in this. And I think a lot about like micro contributions. Like if
Yeah.
you give 5 people, if you give 10 people 25 cents a day, that's 250. But if like everybody does that, and if we just, there are so many of us out there, and we have this ability to connect with a massive number of people. I think I have like 530 subscribers, something like that.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, I think overall subscribers. If everybody just gave me a couple bucks, that, like, I do not have a lot of material needs, actually. I have a very simple life, but that would go a long way towards, to make a difference. And it doesn't need to be a lot. And for everybody, because think about like how many people are out there that we read on a regular basis that have some really great stuff to say or make real contributions. And if everybody just pitched in like 25 cents, how much of a difference that could that make? But then we need to figure out like how to track it, and then how to do it in a sustainable manner so that, maybe a bunch of people pick this person that, and everybody joins in. But then you get into the reciprocity thing, like how much you give back to people. Yeah, there's so many different things. But this is this new world that I think that we're stepping into. And there are a lot of possibilities with it.
There are, and I love the fact that it's so easy to do a live like we're doing,
Right.
and that'll push out automatically into YouTube and to Spotify and da 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 da. I don't think it's getting a lot of views.
Yeah.
Actually, I did find something interesting on YouTube. I did find that I had a lot of negative comments on some of
Oh,
this,
no.
and I was like and somebody else pointed out, "Yeah, you're likely to just pull up the id out of the internet on YouTube for some reason, YouTube
Yeah,
condescended to do that." And I
yeah,
was like, "I just deleted the comments because I
yeah,
can,"
yeah.
and but I didn't find it very helpful to have things like that. "You might wanna start with a coherent sentence." Fair point.
Yeah,
But a
I
lot of times what they were reacting to were these YouTube shorts that are generated out of
okay.
these things,
So to completely out of context. They're
and
like
I gotta admit, sometimes they're pulling things together I would not really want amplified, but
right.
it's kind of a mindless AI thing in the back
Yeah,
that's
right,
running that says, "This seems to be a coherent
right.
statement. Let me put it out as a chunk
Oh
and
god.
see what people do with it."
Yeah.
We'll find out. Well, okay, it's been delightful as usual.
Yeah,
Should we do it again next week?
yeah, it's, yeah, as far as I can tell, yes.
I
Oh,
think
I
my
may
schedule work, but
I may, I may be having company next weekend, so I'll let you
yeah,
know.
let me know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fine. And anybody else who wants to come on live with you
Yeah,
on
go talk to
Workday, let us
Great.
know.
Yeah, or talk
Maybe
to
we
me.
can do
Yeah, let's talk. Alright.
all
Okay.
right, thanks
Good.
so much. We'll
Thank you.
see you later.
See ya.